Welcome to Africa channel. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to help us.
This handy electric SUV is great for newbies but lacks features EV diehards will want. Toyota is taking a novel approach with its bZ4X electric SUV, positioning it as a battery electric SUV for newbies. It's a laudable goal and one Toyota has largely achieved. The bZ4X is straightforward, approachable, and very likable, an EV that is futuristic in appearance but screwdriver simple to operate. First-time EV buyers will likely love it, but experienced electronauts might lament its lack of latest and greatest EV tech. Before we get into how it drives, very nicely, by the way, let's take a brief look at the hardware. The bZ4X is a joint development with Subaru, which sells a nearly identical, and just as user-friendly, version with the slightly less bizarre name of Solterra. A bit longer and lower than Toyota's ubiquitous RAV4, the bZ4X is available with front or all-wheel drive, with EPA range estimates between 222 and 252 miles depending on configuration. We were a little surprised by how visually similar the Toyota version is to the Subaru Solterra, though perhaps we shouldn't be considering the similarities between Subaru's BRZ and Toyota's GR86 sports cars. Toyota's version of the EV SUV is a pleasant-looking vehicle, rather like a RAV4 beamed from the future, though the blanked-out grille seems a clear nod to Tesla's Model E. Too bad about the lack of colors, though, aside from an attractive bright red, the only choices are black, white, and shades of gray. We have lots to say about the interior, mostly good, but our first impression was of the bZ4X's unusual driving layout. The flat-screen instrument panel sits above the steering wheel rim rather than being framed by it. At first we had the sensation that the steering wheel was in our lap, but that's more of an optical illusion. The driving position is actually quite conventional. When adjusted for comfort, the steering wheel's rim can block the lower part of the digital dash, but there's nothing displayed down there. Once we got used to the view, we rather liked having the speedometer display up high, close to our line of sight as we looked down the road. Before whooshing off in silence, we took a moment to take in the details. The bZ4X's attractive cabin features a large infotainment screen and lots of big, clearly marked buttons, pretty much what you'd find in a garden variety gasoline-powered SUV. Aside from the regenerative brake button, all of the controls will be familiar to EV newbies, and that is the bZ4X's secret weapon, a low intimidation factor. We drove both versions of the bZ4X, XLE and Limited, and found material quality to be excellent in both. The patterned cloth covering on the dash, also used as seat upholstery in the XLE, is both handsome and unique, though we shudder to think what sharp dog claws and a few years of Levi's will do to it. Limited models come with soft tex, fake leather, which will likely hold up better to wear. Below the center console is a large, purse-friendly storage area, and a standard, but non-opening, panoramic glass roof lets in plenty of daylight. While some EVs do fancy things with their keys, unlocking automatically and switching the car on when you get in, the Toyota bZ4X uses a conventional proximity key system, though the Toyota app can substitute for the key. You unlock it by tugging on the door handle, switch it on by pressing a button on the dash, and shift into gear with a rotary-style shifter. It's no different than countless internal combustion cars. Once you hit the accelerator, though, you'll know you're driving electric. There's no mistaking the smooth, even flow of power, a lovely sensation that no internal combustion engine can reproduce. Front drive bZ4Xs have a single motor that produces 201 horsepower and 196 pounds-to-foot of torque, while all-wheel drive models have one motor on each axle, each producing 107 horsepower and 124 pounds-to-foot for a total output of 214 horsepower and 248 pounds-to-foot. Toyota cites 0 to 60 mph times of 7.1 seconds with front drive and 6.5 with all-wheel drive. These are modest figures by EV standards, but they don't tell an accurate story. Both are quick off the line and very torquey when on the move, blasting the bZ4X through traffic like a sci-fi rocket scooter. Were the bZ4X a gasoline-powered car, we'd praise its mid-range punch, but this electric powertrain packs something more akin to a mule kick. It's the sort of acceleration that makes people swear off internal combustion. Once on the move, the bZ4X generates a fair amount of road noise, particularly from the back of the car. The Limited, which sported an optional oddball two-piece split spoiler, produced even more wind whoosh. With no engine to mask this noise, sound insulation in an electric car is trickier. Considering the company's experience with the hushed Mirai, an electric car that produces power with a hydrogen fuel cell, we didn't expect Toyota to get this wrong, but it did. Road manners are typical of what we've come to expect from the latest crop of Toyotas. Ride quality is quite good. The Limited model, which gets 20-inch wheels, is a bit more firm than the XLE, which uses 18-inch wheels with a taller tire sidewall that helps soften the bumps. but the Limited's lower profile tires give it much better steering response. The XLE steering feels squidgier off-center, especially in sharp, fast corners. Still, both cars track nicely on straightaways and through the curves. Body roll in turns is minimal, no surprise with that big, heavy battery pack under the floor keeping the center of gravity low, and both grip and cornering poise are quite good. Front drive cars give way to tire squealing understeer, while the all-wheel drive system allows the rear end to dig in and drive the car through the corner as you get on the accelerator. Like all electric cars, the bZ4X relies on regenerative braking, using the motion of the car to generate electricity that juices up the battery while slowing the car. While some cars have multiple regen modes, the Toyota has a sort of one-pedal driving feature that can be switched on and off. Switched off, regen is moderated with the brake pedal. Switched on, the bZ4X will decelerate at a moderate rate when you release the accelerator, but it requires the driver to use the brake pedal to bring the car to a full stop. Toyota says the idea is to keep the driver engaged. It's a good system and a great way for first-timers to get accustomed to one-pedal braking. The bZ4X's all-wheel drive system includes X mode, with selections for snow/dirt, snow/mud, and grip control, whatever that is. X mode is a Subaru trademark, and Toyota didn't even attempt to call it anything different for its version of the car. Cynics that we are, we approve. What we have outlined so far is a small electric SUV that combines the ease of use of a traditional gasoline vehicle with the futuristic feel and punchy power, and, of course, the emissions-free driving of the best electrics. So why might EV aficionados not find the bZ4X as enticing as the newbies? Well, for one thing, there's the range, which we'd give a B+. XLE models are EPA rated at 252 miles for the single motor car and 242 miles for the dual motor. The same Limited models are rated at 228 and 222 miles, likely because they carry more equipment and the larger wheels and tires. Those aren't bad numbers, certainly comparable to the Hyundai Ioniq 5 and Kia EV6, and better than the Volkswagen ID4, but Toyota doesn't offer a 300-mile range option like the Tesla Model Y does. It's worth noting the bZ4X's range display shows a reduction when the climate control is switched on, and it's a bit shocking to see that 250-mile figure suddenly drop to 200 miles. To be fair to Toyota, a 300-plus mile range is merely a bragging point for many EV owners. Toyota knows the vast majority of such folks charge at home and rarely need their car's full range on any given day. Range matters for road trips, and that brings us to the bZ4X's other major shortcoming, which is a maximum fast charge rate of 150 kilowatts for front drive models and just 100 kilowatts for AWD ones. That means the magic 0 to 80% charge can take nearly an hour. The Kia/Hyundai twins can do it in around 20 minutes, which, if you think about it, is about right for a typical gasoline-powered roadside break, fuel, bathroom, snacks, stretch legs. That charging limitation makes the bZ4X more of a homebody than a long-distance traveler. That's a bummer, because range anxiety, though it may be merely psychosomatic, is one of the barriers to entry for many would-be electric car buyers, as are charging times, even if they don't matter when you plug in overnight at home. 6 months ago we might not have complained about slow fast charging times, but 6 months ago we hadn't driven the very talented Ioniq 5 and EV6. Pricing for the bZ4X ranges from $43,215 for the front drive XLE model to $49,995 for the all-wheel drive Limited, making it competitive with competing electric SUVs and a real bargain compared to the Tesla Model Y. We like the bZ4X's roomy back seat and boxy SUV-style cargo bay, though it lacks a front trunk, as found on the Tesla Model Y, and feels less like a conventional SUV than the Volkswagen ID4. Still, for a first-time EV buyer who doesn't road trip on a regular basis, the Toyota bZ4X is a very appealing proposition: simple, practical, satisfying to drive, and easy to live with. It's a welcome addition to the ever-growing EV fleet.
We have come to the end of the video. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel to help us.